Welcome to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. Like any good marriage, we will debate, evaluate, and sometimes quarrel about how privacy and security impact business in the 21st century.
Hi, Jody Daniels here. I'm the founder and CEO of Red Clover Advisors, a certified women's privacy consultancy. I'm a privacy consultant and certified informational privacy professional, providing practical privacy advice to overwhelmed companies.
Hello, Justin Daniels here. I am a shareholder and corporate M&A and tech transaction lawyer at the law firm Baker Donaldson, advising companies in the deployment and scaling of technology. Since data is critical to every transaction, I help clients make informed business decisions while managing data privacy and cybersecurity risk. And when needed, I lead the legal cyber data breach response brigade.
And this episode is brought to you by No One Can Hear That When You Put Your Hand on My Head. People, this is what I have to contend with. It is brought to you by Red Clover Advisors. We help companies to comply with data privacy laws and establish customer trust so that they can grow and nurture integrity. We work with companies in a variety of fields, including technology, e-commerce, professional services, and digital media. In short, we use data privacy to transform the way companies do business. Together, we're creating a future where there's greater trust between companies and consumers. To learn more and to check out our best-selling book, Data Reimagined, Building Trust One Bite at a Time, visit redcloveradvisors.com. How are you today?
I think our viewers should tune into the video so they can see that you're wearing your festive fall outfit today.
Well, that's because fall is amazing. And, actually, I think we're recording right when it's actually officially going to be fall. So exciting. Best season ever, everyone. But no, I don't need pumpkin everything. I just like the actual pumpkin and a pumpkin muffin, and I'm pretty good.
But wouldn't you like to see fall in Colorado?
I would just like to have some cool weather. Actually, it snowed in Utah yesterday.
Awesome.
I know. All right. But we're going to bring it back to privacy, security, and AI today because we have Rob Black. And as the founder of Fractional CISO, Rob has guided numerous companies in enhancing their security posture. With extensive experience in product and corporate security roles at prominent companies such as PTC, Axeda, and RSA Security, Rob is recognized as a trusted authority in risk management and cybersecurity innovation. So Rob, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thanks, Jody. Thanks, Justin.
Now it's your turn.
Are you sure?
No one can hear the smirky smile.
I get to speak?
Yes, you get to speak.
So, Rob, tell us about your career journey that brought you to where you are today.
Cool. All right. Will do. So we will started my security career. So I was at RSA Security about 17, 18 years ago. Before that, I was in technology field, developer, various technology roles, and went to RSA Security. And, as a pro tip for anyone who's interested in getting into security, great idea for working for a big security company. Whatever function you're in, you will learn a lot about security. So I was there for a little under 5 years working on their identity and access management products. And then went to Axeda, which is an IoT company connecting our customers' devices on the edge to cloud servers. A lot of security needs there. And I was doing security and product for them. And I was like, boy, every company seems to need the things I'm doing. Then we got acquired by a bigger company. And I was like, oh, I guess this is over. But nope, it wasn't. Still doing security programs for them. And I decided, it's time to take the leap. I'm going to go start my own thing and help companies on a fractional basis comply and meet their security needs. So I started Fractional CISO 2017, been doing it ever since. And now we help mid-sized companies with their cybersecurity leadership. A lot of times companies are selling to large enterprise. Large enterprise says security program's not good. And we help those companies get on the right path and stay on the right path and meet their security and compliance needs. And so been doing it since 2017. It was just me then sitting at a desk in my attic, but now fortunately we've got bigger teams. So there's 16 of us, and it's been awesome.
See, 2017. Isn't that eerily familiar to you?
It is. Rob and I's trajectory is very similar. It is indeed. And Rob, I love what you just said about the smaller company trying to work with the enterprise company. I have been talking to a company for months about their privacy program in the B2B space, and I knew they were a little hesitant to keep going forward. And then got a call, large company, has a lot of privacy requirements.
For
Now
sure.
they need to really get their privacy program in order. And it's exactly the same thing. It is often what is that motivating factor, those customers that really
Yeah, for
require those
sure. I mean,
programs.
it's great to say, oh, security is important. Then they get the bill and they're like, yeah, I don't want to pay for it or anything. I just kind of want it to be better. But when dollars are on the line, when large enterprises say you have to do it, when the government says you have to do it, or maybe you had a past incident and you realize, boy, that was very costly, and it would have been better if we were proactive. Like those are all kind of key drivers for making a buying decision. But yeah, it's it's kind of like security is kind of like environmental stuff, right? Like, yes, you want a clean environment, but like, wouldn't it be a lot cheaper if I could just dump the chemicals into the river behind my factory? And that's why you need, some other entity to kind of force you to do the right thing. In this case, large enterprise.
Well, speaking of large enterprise, Rob, I'm just curious from what you're seeing in your practice, how much of a role yet is the SEC cyber rule playing on these larger enterprises telling your clients, hey, you're part of our third party supply chain. These are things we require that you do if you want to do business with us because we have the new cyber rule to deal with. Are you seeing a lot of that, or is it a trickle still?
So I think what's interesting is we've definitely had an uptick in small publicly traded companies coming to us. So I think that has forced the buying decision on their part because, they want to be in compliance themselves. In terms of large enterprise, I'm not sure we see the SEC rule as the governing factor. I think, that one, the vendor management space, I would say probably precedes that. But I could be wrong at the cause. Just in general, vendor management is very important for large enterprise, and I'm sure the SEC bit added to it, but I'm not sure it was the catalyst because we haven't seen kind of I wouldn't say we have seen more recently. It's probably been constant the past 5 years.
Many companies are using all different kinds of cool AI tools. In our pre-show, we were discussing different AI
Yeah.
tools. And today we want to talk about how to use AI in a governance, risk, and compliance program.
Yeah.
Rob, can you share a little bit about maybe where are some of the easy places to start or common places to start or just a good place for companies to be thinking about where to fit this in?
So probably the easiest place to start is summary of large documents. All the time, people will give you a big PDF. It might be a SOC 2 report. It might be just some big set of requirements. And understanding that document as a whole is pretty difficult. So uploading that to Claude and having it give you a nice summary, maybe ask it specific questions about some of the elements, can be a huge time saver. And so that has been one of the bigger ones that we've used. So many things in security and compliance, of course, is text generation. So anytime you get a questionnaire, also a great opportunity for maybe ChatGPT to answer those questions. We've done anonymized, like a little paragraph about the environment for a customer, give that to ChatGPT, give it the questions, and it will give pretty good answers already. And the trick isn't necessarily to nail it. It's, can you generate an answer for these questionnaires, and then as a jumpstart, and then a human can edit it and respond, and it can save a tremendous amount of time. In terms of completely doing something, I would stay away from that. I think today the technology is not good enough. Still need human intervention. Getting into the weeds, there was one SOC 2 report that I knew that it was an unfavorable report, and Claude actually gave the inverse answer when I asked it to summarize it, saying that it was so basically qualified is bad in SOC 2 language. and it kind of got it backwards. So you kind of have to be careful. You can't just totally trust it. Now I kind of read some of the things, but also sometimes I'll scan it. Where AI has not been good, not that you asked this question, is I've had a list of, so let's say vulnerability scans, lots of data from something, and I would give it to ChatGPT, and I would say, find all the instances of this vulnerability and tell me all the servers that it has. And it will say IP 1234, 45678, and a bunch of others. And I'm like, that super uncool. It's kind of like the lazy intern. It's really smart, but it just decided to not do its job. So we still have challenges getting AI to do all the things that we want it to do. We definitely need a lot of oversight. But in terms of anything involving text generation or text summary is a really good initial use case.
So Rob, kind of thought there is, and Jody, maybe you have some thoughts as well, is have you started to, I realized that ChatGPT now has a button where you can upload a document. And I like Claude as well. So what I'm starting to do is just to see is I'll do the same prompt, upload the same document in both just to see what they come up with, to see if they're pretty similar or there's some differences. And then the other part I was thinking is, in your example about IP address 12349, what would happen, I'm just thinking out loud, if you had a prompt that said, hey, I need to know the IP addresses, and then you describe what the IP address is, and if that would have further iterated your prompt to help it get you the results you wanted?
As I recall, I tried multiple prompts on that case, and it just was not. It wasn't that big where that would have been that hard for just me to do it manually. So it was just one of those things like, oh, I thought I could save 5-10 minutes, but I ended up spending 15 minutes trying to get the prompt to work properly. And I'm sorry, Justin, you asked the first part of the question. I just answered the second.
No. And thank you for that answer, because I find I can spend 20 minutes on a prompt to get where I want to go. And I'm like, should I have just done this myself? But the first part of my question was, have you done things where you might take the same prompt, upload the same report or whatever, and do it in both ChatGPT and Anthropic or Gemini just to see what they get and if it's similar or what some of the differences might be? Or you have some preferences?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the reasons why we settled on Claude for summarization is because it just blew away ChatGPT. Now, it's possible that we keep on testing, but it's not like I couldn't tell you if I tested today, that would be the case. It's just historically been way, way better. In terms of, certain use cases, I definitely have preferences for certain use cases. Like, my son needed to generate an image for school, and like the assignment was to use AI, and I suggested Grok because it is way better for a prompt for generating kind of what you need. Like all the time, you do that with OpenAI, and the image almost always has problems, and Grok is usually pretty close. And I know that might not be a great compliance use case, but certainly like a marketing use case might be. Another Grok use case, and not that we're talking about Grok, but my one other Grok use case is have it summarize a recent event. Tell me all the things that have happened recently about X, whatever a recent event is, and it's really good at recent events. Anyway, but so like I would use Grok for recent events and images. I use ChatGPT mostly for text generation. I'd use Claude for summarization. And so we have tested like a bunch of different prompts and seen the results for those systems and some others. We used Llama as well. Have had less success with Llama, but haven't tested extensively with the most recent version. So that might be, so my data there might be a little old.
And where does Rock come from? Is that who built that one?
Oh, Grok, Grok. Grok is X's or Twitter's AI.
Oh, okay.
So and I think the reason why it's so good with current events is just because it has access to all the tweets, news articles, links to news articles, and it's actually, I kind of feel like some point you could have it generate like a newsletter for topics you're interested in every morning to kind of get the latest info.
There are a lot of software tools that people will use in a compliance arena, and many of them today have all different kinds of AI bells and whistles. Are there any of those types of tools that you have found either for yourself or your clients are using that you think have been helping improve efficiency for programs?
So I wouldn't necessarily say a specific tool. In general, I think the security questionnaire whole process is very broken. And, so with the security questionnaire, a company will send you a list of 100 questions, 300 questions, some huge number. And you're like, oh, I have this document. Can you just, take my answers from there? Like, no, we need our answers. I feel like that translation would be super valuable. I've seen some of those tools. I think they work okay. We have not settled on one. We have not pushed clients to one. It's, now I would say it's manual-ish, probably using prompts on your own to answer those questions. But I can imagine 3 months from now, 6 months from now, one of those tools being amazing. But we have not seen it. It feels like they're kind of there, but still requires a lot of manual intervention.
Fair
And
point.
yeah, and even the answers, yeah, I mean, the reason it requires manual intervention is if they get the answer right 80% of the time, that means 20% of the stuff is not right, which isn't good.
60% of the time, I'm right 100% of the time. But Rob, you bring up a good point because, with your practice and you're advising clients on a variety of security issues, obviously security has become a really important component of AI. And can you share any experiences when you're talking to clients or maybe in your own business of how you're training or putting together guidelines that make sure that people understand that there needs to still be a pretty good amount of human intervention, human feedback, because this is really, like you said, a very smart but lazy intern?
Yes. So we've helped a lot of clients with their AI governance document, and we usually recommend having a specific document and not just kind of treating it as a vendor thing, just because the iterations are happening so fast, and people want to know specifically, am I allowed to do this? Am I allowed to do that? In terms of what to be done, putting things in one of these third-party AIs where it's hosted elsewhere and you're putting your proprietary information in, we highly recommend against that anytime there's proprietary information, PII, very company-specific type things. However, if you're uploading let's say a questionnaire and an answer, and the answer, the prompt might say something like, we have a total Microsoft environment, answer these questions, that Claude or ChatGPT is not going to really have a huge amount of proprietary info other than maybe your Microsoft environment, which they could probably figure out from the DNS records, right? So it's not like you're really revealing a lot of info. So we'll put guidance around that. A lot of bigger companies today have their own AI, meaning they've licensed something and are running it on their servers or running it on Azure or AWS. And so, for those ones, they should just do whatever the business need is. Obviously, you do have to be careful about who has access to that information. So, for instance, if your training data has data that only this department's allowed to see, one department's allowed to see, you don't want that in the general training data where everyone gets the results, right? So there still is some things to be careful with there. But certainly, at least it's not being fed into the public LLMs. And so, we're encouraging customers to be using their own. We're encouraging them when they are using the public ones to be really careful. We are unaware of any great tools that would give you warnings or take things out of your prompts that would make life easier. I'm sure some of those tools are out there, but probably not for the mid-market customers.
So, Rob, another question. So let's say I'm a middle market company. and I come to you and I say, hey, Rob, we want to use the enterprise level version of ChatGPT. And hey,
Yeah.
in the configuration of it, there's a little button I can press that says don't train on it.
Yeah.
If I do that from your expert perspective, is that something that you feel I can rely on? Or, okay, you bought the enterprise version, but that's probably still not good enough. Do you have a viewpoint, or have you encountered a situation around something like that?
I would not rely on it. Okay, so by the way, I'm, as you want with your security person, I'm pretty paranoid about lots of things.
Hmm.
Um, I have much more trust with Google and Microsoft than I do with OpenAI. OpenAI, if you just look at their governance situation, not tied to security, but just like, corporate governance situation from a year ago with the CEO situation, I would just say, I don't think they have their governance lined out for doing things. They're moving very, very fast. They don't have a history of good data practices around managing things. And so, totally independent of any exact company knowledge that I have, I would say I would be wary of any assertions they're making. Now, if Microsoft is taking the OpenAI code and running it in Azure and they're operating it, that's a totally different story. Because if they say, hey, they've locked it down, it's just like any other Azure service. Could there be a vulnerability? Sure, but it would be a totally different situation. So I would be wary of the things that are hosted by, let's say not AWS, uh, Microsoft, or Google in general.
When we talk about AI, people are always wondering, well, is it going to help my job or is it going to replace me? I'm curious how you're seeing companies use these tools. Are they reallocating budget or time spent in other areas, for example?
Um, I think, okay, so let's just go to the job replacement. Um, if you're wary of AI, your job will be replaced, but not by AI, but by a human that can do your job and knows AI. There's so many things. AI today, or LLM specifically, it's just a huge time saver. So now instead of you cranking out some report and spending a ton of time, you can, write an outline and have ChatGPT fill it in and, make sure the grammar's correct, and then you edit it, right? And so whatever text you're generating, now it should be a lot faster, right? So now you can do your job a lot faster. LLMs today don't sit around and think about your job and what you do. So for today's technology to replace them, it's totally unrealistic. In terms of reallocating resources toward hiring, totally believe that's true. I suspect that in many cases, senior management's pushing people to do more with less. Oh, we need to hire a new, compliance person. Well, maybe you should just be using more AI technology to divvy up the work amongst the existing people. But I don't know that I have not seen this huge payoff with AI today. Um, my suspicion is companies are spending, let's say 100 billion, and they're getting 10 billion of value today. So I think we'd have to see some sort of equalization on spend to benefit for companies to, for things to get ironed out. I can imagine some killer use cases. Today, I mean, to me, I think the problem is the inconsistency with the data totally requires human operator for things to be effective today, unless it was a very, very specific use case. But I mean, then you'd be spending a fair amount of time on the engineering of that, making sure that it didn't mess up.
I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. Time will tell. But I have heard many times what you just shared, which is that those that do not know how to use AI and tools will be replaced by the people who do.
For
For
sure.
anyone listening and you have not tried or dabbled just a little bit every day will make you more comfortable.
Yeah. And it's very easy to try them. I mean, they basically make the entry level ones free. I mean, you might have to sign up, but it's very easy to play with it and try it.
But I bet you the security minded Rob would say, remember, if it's free, it's because they want to train on your data and security is at a premium.
Yeah,
or
for
not
sure.
at a
But
premium?
if you're just trying it out,
Yeah.
say, write me a poem about, you know, like your kids' names, and then they'll make a little,
No?
I'll make a poem about your kids. You can share with the kids. It's fun. Um,
Jody knows my favorite use case for what I did.
Justin likes to use AI to create songs
yeah,
about
that's good.
security.
Yeah, that's good.
No, if the viewers want, I'll repost it. So I used ChatGPT to create a song for the Secret Service because I spoke at one of their events, and the song was an ode to the Secret Service based off of their mission, with used for the lyrics of Billy Joel's Piano Man, and it was scenes from a threat actor restaurant. It was
Very
fun,
cool.
and I sang it, and even though I can't sing or anything,
No, that is not your specialty.
Jody was appalled.
And now you're on a list.
They laughed. That's what I wanted. Well, anyway, Rob, one thing we'd love to ask you is, when you're out at a party and people are like, "Hey, Rob, we're thinking about cybersecurity over this cocktail. Do you have a best security tip that you might give Jody or I over a cocktail?"
Yeah, for sure. So if my wife is nearby, the security tip for me is to stay away from the security topic. It's a total party killer. But if this were legit, I would say use a password manager, and use a purpose-built password manager. And the reason I say that is I know a lot of people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I keep all my passwords in a spreadsheet," and just that's not a good idea. Just for everyone who's listening, that is a really bad idea. But a purpose-built password manager is going to be a lot more secure. You're obviously going to want to have a really good password. You want to have multi-factor authentication on it. But a really good password manager is going to allow for you to have specific passwords for everything you log into. You can have very long strings that you don't even remember, have it generate it, and then copy and paste it into the website when you're logging in. And that is probably going to reduce so many people's risks from where they are today. They either have a spreadsheet with all their passwords, they use the same password everywhere, and both those things are really bad. If your password manager is a written piece of paper and you have it in a secured location and there's no one that's going to come get it, I think that might be an okay alternative. But but obviously that's still subject to being caught in a fire or other bad things happening to that. But to me, a password manager is probably the one thing the general public could do that would make a outsized difference in reducing their risk.
Is there a particular one that you like or you think is pretty good? I know I had to fire one because they got hacked a bunch and went to a different one.
I am I don't recommend them. I don't recommend any specific one.
Okay.
In general, okay, so this is going to sound bad because I just said endorse the product. In general, I believe any hosted password manager will be compromised at some point.
Okay.
So I know that may have been the opposite of what you heard from before. Rob's still recommending it. Keep in mind, even when they compromise it, they do not have your password, right? They have an encrypted blob with your password, which is why you need to have a good password to protect it. And so there's that degree of protection. And also probably if you're not a target, whoever downloads all the passwords from that site, they probably are not trying to attack you specifically. But yeah, my belief is all the hosted ones will be compromised at some point.
In non-security news, when you are not advising companies on security topics, what do you like to do for fun?
What do I do for fun? So I joke in the winter that my full-time job is actually basketball coach, and I just do part-time security. So I have a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old, and I coach both their town league teams, which is really fun. I'm looking forward to it and really enjoy that. So I'd say that is like my hobby, and maybe that sounds lame, but I don't know, my kids, work, those seem to be like the main things I focus on. So
if people would like to learn more, where can they go to connect?
Yeah, sure. So first thing is I have a outsized presence on LinkedIn. So please feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. Rob Black, probably find me. You may find in my profile some videos of me with wigs on. That is me. I do funny security videos with wigs. And then if you want to even connect more, we're at fractionalciso.com. So it's like fraction, ALCISO.com. Yes, I got that website early, obviously. Good for me, helps with SEO. And if you're actually interested in getting some help, please feel free to reach out to us.
Well, Rob, we're so glad that you joined us today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Great being here. This is fun.
Thanks for listening to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes and check us out on LinkedIn. See you next time.